My name is Justine Rosenthal. I'm the editor of the National Interest. We are here today with Milton Bearden, former 30-year-long?
30
years at the CIA, perhaps most importantly or infamously in Pakistan during the time of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. He has a piece in our March-April issue on how we might move forward in Afghanistan, and we're hoping you could walk us through some of your prescriptions today.
Well, the first prescription is to get through this concept that we're undertaking now and define the mission. If you had to take a hard look at it, we went in because we were angry. We went in because we needed to do something as a nation, get a little revenge. And so within 21 days of 9/11, we were in Afghanistan. We had no plan other than doing that. Now what happened is what happens always in Afghanistan is that we swept from the north down. The Taliban just rolled and rolled and rolled until in November they vacated Kabul and essentially the house of cards had collapsed. The important thing to know there is it was with 250 Americans on the ground, a lot of air, but 250 Americans. You fast forward now 7 years, and now we're saying, well, what are we doing? What are our goals? And that's where we find ourselves with Richard Holbrooke taking over the account and Obama looking at what will be his war. This is Obama's war.
How would you want to redefine the mission if you were making policy now?
You're going to have to give up on turning Afghanistan into some showcase for democracy. I think that we're into wishful thinking. The other thing we're going to have to do is to walk back the concept of a strong central government run by an emir that we've put on the throne. Karzai, and our biggest mistake with Karzai was that we probably let him believe that he would be controlling all of the resources and be the emir of all of Afghanistan, and that hadn't worked out. The best for that country is a reasonably thoughtful emir in Kabul who knows how to deal with the governors or the minor emirs in the provinces. And that's what's got to be recreated. And then in the process, we'll probably have to try to recreate with the assistance of the regional people, the tribal system, the elder system, the traditional rulers. My biggest concern is that since we've been in there for 7 years, we have fully involved the 25 million Pashtuns who are ethnically identical to their cousins in Afghanistan but live in Pakistan, or what we call Pakistan. And now we see that the war that has flowed from our occupation of Afghanistan has now just spread across what is called historically the eastern Iranian plateau all the way through the northwest frontier of Pakistan.
Does this mean in your mind, Milt, that we can't have an Afghanistan as a state, as a single entity? Does that exist? Is this another case of a kind of colonial concept that is still being placed on it in modern day? How do you envision this Afghanistan state, if it even is one?
Well, you raised the most important point of all, and it's sort of the curse of my 30 years in CIA. I was always involved in countries where elderly British gentlemen a century earlier drew lines on empty maps,
Right.
or said they were empty maps. It was a wonderful concept of European colonialism, terra nullius, empty lands, which means it doesn't have any people that look like you or me and speak English at home with their mom. That's going to take care of itself. I mean, the Afghans don't recognize the border, the Durand line between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The Pakistanis do. The people who live on either side of the border, they just ignore it, except they know that if they run across the other side, that the Americans can't really follow them in a big way. So we now have found ourselves involved in a fight where the lines were drawn 115 years ago by the British out of fear of the Russians encroaching on the British Empire, which has long since slipped beneath the waves. So we've got to approach Afghanistan within that context. You might even find that that's a similar situation in Iraq, because it was in Paris after World War I we drew all those lines and said, let's call it Iraq.
Now, you have also talked about, well, certainly in this article, that we may have to face up to arming the militias.
Yeah.
Like so many states before.
That's right.
Potentially a controversial idea.
Sure.
Do you think it's the only way out?
I think we'll do it. I'm one who say that it's never worked before. It worked for me beautifully during the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, because they would arm militias and I would buy the weapons from the militias, leaving them enough every so often to turn on their Soviet masters and shoot them. And so I saved a huge amount of money on shipment, shipping costs. And you create a lot more fights, and you have armed more people who have dislocated traditional rulers. If we do it this time, and I believe we will, because it's inevitable, when all else is failing, you must do something. So we will do it. We have to do it as intelligently as we can, understanding how others have failed, or where others may have succeeded for a while, like the British in the 30s. They played that game in the frontier, and we would have to study those examples, and not necessarily the example of Anbar province in Iraq.
So if we do your bottom line first 3 policy changes that you would like to see Holbrooke and the State Department institute, or maybe in fact the military institute, what would those be?
Well, the first one is that we'll have to weigh more carefully the concept of how seriously we set about hunting down and killing the Taliban. That may be simply an unending enterprise. So I think we'll have to re-examine that, and re-examine exactly what our military is to do there. And the President has asked the JCS, okay, you want these troops, what do they do? So I would suggest that if they are there to provide security for a district or part of a province, so that inside that area of security the Afghans can start sorting some things out for themselves. That's a change in mission, and I think that might be useful. The other thing I would suggest, and this is the difficulty, is that while you can't re-engineer the central government in Kabul or the powers of the President, you can de facto start dealing with the governors of the provinces, the people out there, and not take into consideration the sensibilities and sensitivities of the central government. I think we're going to have to do that. And the third thing is we're going to have to probably start matching some of the rebuilding and reconstruction efforts that we're going to try to do on the Afghan side of the Durand borderline in the northwest of Pakistan, and to treat that area as part of the problem and part of the solution. And that is a huge thing. The one concern that I see, and it's not an original thought, but it's pretty cogent, is that if these Pashtuns, 40 million of them, 25 million on the Pakistani side, believe now that this thing we call Talibanization is good for the whole region, plus Pashtun separatism or nationalism, combine those two concepts, Pakistan is in terrible trouble.
Well, thank you very much for outlining this for us. I
Great.
hope that as things progress in Afghanistan, we can do this again.
Let's do it. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Justine.